Franchising is the most misunderstood and most overlooked form of entrepreneurship. We're here to educate you and help you find the entrepreneur within. Franchising is not all about the French fries.
We find that individuals who are exploring business ownership tend to have a lot of misperceptions and misunderstandings about the franchise industry. So what we want to do is help prospective business owners make confident and educated decisions before moving forward or not moving forward with a business. Welcome to Unpredicted Entrepreneur.
Hello, and welcome to episode 92 of Unpredicted Entrepreneur. My name is Sara Waskow, and I am joined by my colleague, Roxanne Rapske, and we created this podcast to bring you information about business ownership and all things franchising. We are delighted today to welcome our guests, Joseph and Kay Barker. They are the founders of a franchise that FranNet partners with called Musicology, and we are so thrilled for them to join us today and share their story. So Joseph and Kay, welcome to Unpredicted Entrepreneur.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited to chat with you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. We're excited.
Good. So we always like to start with background. When we first learned about your brand back at our FranNet meeting in the fall, Roxanne and I were both just really excited. It was something unique that FranNet didn't have anything terribly similar to it in our portfolio. And we learned about your story and kind of how you got started into the business of musicology. So please share that with our listeners today. We would love to hear your background and kind of how this business evolved.
Sure. So the long story begins with both Joseph and I starting music lessons when we were 5 years old. We both studied music all growing up. I studied vocal performance as well. And when it came to college, decided to go to college to study vocal performance and piano performance and psychology as well. I was really fascinated by how the brain works, and I wanted to study like how people's brains work when they're doing music, how music affects the brain, how the brain affects the music that we make. So I was well on that path. I got into grad school and was going to go get my PhD with that. And then I met Joseph my senior year in college. He was a vagabond musician, psychology major type, and he was writing his own songs and performing in the restaurant that we both worked at. And it was perhaps love at first sight, but we started making music together, started performing together, fell in love, and I decided not to go to grad school, much to my parents' chagrin.
Our parents loved that.
And instead, we hit the road. We started writing music together and started touring all over the country, performing our own songs. We toured in a van that ran on waste vegetable oil, which meant that we go to Chinese restaurants primarily. They have the cleanest oil, and we would like siphon it out of their tanks in the back into our tank in the car.
So they were like open and willing to give you their dirty oil at these restaurants.
They were mostly baffled by it, but happy to give us their waste oil. There was one time we went in and we would always ask before we didn't want to just like take it. I went in and I asked this man who must have been the owner, and there was some language like barriers. He didn't understand what I was saying, but eventually he got that we wanted some of the used grease, and he said, "Okay, wait a minute." And he went into the back and he came back with a little cup, a styrofoam cup.
Oh, you're like, no.
Vegetable oil.
We're gonna need more than that.
Like so sweet. What could he have imagined? I don't know. But anyway. It was economical. It smelled like French fries.
So you were hungry all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I ate too much fast food. It was a really awesome way to spend our 20s, though. We toured with Walk the Moon for a time. We opened for Sarah McLachlan and for Heart.
Wow.
And just played with some incredible musicians, had a great time being on the road. But it's hard to be a musician and living on the road, and you're always off and on, and the income is inconsistent. So I started teaching private music lessons to fill in the gap, and I instantly realized that like this was my passion. This was psychology and music together, seeing kids' brains just like grow and be, and their passions be like, the flames fanned. And so I started doing more and more of that, less and less touring. And eventually I was teaching out of my own house. I was teaching out of other studios, and I was like, this is my life. Like, this is what I want to do. So let's find a way to make this sustainable. I think maybe this is a good time to pause and let Joseph talk about his business acumen, because that's where it all kind of came.
Yeah, I mean,
a little bit about your backstory too, Joseph.
Yeah, we always say, I mean, our partnership is incredible, and it's what's really powered the scale of musicology. But I've been starting businesses since I was like 8 years old. I had a stationery business where I would hand draw stationery and sell it to my parents and their friends and family for wildly inflated prices. And so that was my first intersection of business, entrepreneurship, and art. And so I've been doing that my whole life, and musicology is the culmination of that. We did really well as musicians, and we did lots of licensing, and we kind of realized through booking tours and having spreadsheets and figuring out the business of being musicians that we were doing more business than music, and we actually really liked it. And so when it came time to kind of really settle down in one place and stop touring and think about what musicology could be and what teaching could be, it was a natural fit. And growing musicology, we've been around for 10, almost 11 years now, and right away it was clear that we had something special, we had something unique. The music lessons business is super fragmented, lots of mom and pops. And so that creates this opportunity where we can come in as this well-branded facility that it really speaks to what modern parents now want. Parents like us, we have a 4-year-old, and we're of course we're about to put him in lessons at Musicology, of course. And and so the opportunity there is really exciting and really huge.
That's wonderful. So I love how you were able to blend your music talent with your business acumen to create this business. I know you mentioned that it's fragmented. So you're looking, when you think about who you're looking for in a musicology franchisee, tell us a little bit about that. Would they need to have music background like you guys?
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. You'll have teachers, they'll do the music teaching. Mm-hmm. We have all of the curriculum stuff all hammered out, all in line. So, what we're looking for is just someone who wants to be their own boss and who really excited to affect change in their community, looking for community focused individuals, parents, who just understand the power of music lessons, because music is transformative, and music lessons can be a place where, a kid has a mentor that sticks with them for years and, can be their advocate in ways that other adults in their life might not. It's just a really magical thing. And so basically we just want franchisees who get that.
You have quite a bit of experience because you have 6 locations that you guys run and operate, right? Yes. And you learned a lot through that, of having somebody that's business minded versus having a musician run the business. I think there were some learnings there. And the fact that you run this very well in a semi-absentee model where you have managers in place. So you guys have your locations. You're also a franchisor. You also are parents. So you guys have busy lives.
It's true. Yeah. Wouldn't have it any other way. So for the first couple years of musicology, it was just me and a few teachers. And we've slowly been growing since then. We took on some joint venture partners. who were musicians who wanted to own studios. And what we learned through that is that that's not really what you need at the head of the studio. Those people, we were able to coach them and give them the tools that we've built. And those have been really cool relationships. But we realized like that person at the top, they shouldn't be doing the lessons. They shouldn't be in that place. They need to be spending the time on their business and out in the community and marketing stuff. So, some of our I keep saying that, joint venture partners, who were musicians, like didn't really love that role, So again, what we want is someone who wants to be that in their community. That's all you need, And we also learned through that, I think, that we just really love coaching people. We love building music schools and we love coaching people to run amazing schools. For me, it's, if a school is healthy from the top down, it means that kids are getting the music education that they deserve and that everyone along the way, teachers are building sustainable careers and, everyone along the way is winning. That's really cool to us.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much more than just music. So how many franchisees do you have?
So let's see. Right now we have 2 locations open. That's one couple that own those 2 locations.
Yeah, they're our very first franchisee. They were students first. They had kids in lessons, and they came to us and said, "This concept is awesome. How can we be a part of it?" And we said, "Lucky for you, we just started franchising, so let's go." So we signed a deal with them, 2-unit deal last year, and then we partnered with Repum to do our franchise sales, and so we started working with them late last year, and so since then we've signed 4 additional deals, and we're excited about this year. It's going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
And tell us about the backgrounds of your current franchisees.
So our first franchisees, Dustin and Courtney, parents of 3 kids. She was a marketing executive. He's in data analytics. And he also plays the drums, like professionally. Although he did have 1 paying gig, so I think
now he's professional. Yeah, and I think that's common. All of our franchisees so far, it's pretty diverse, but the through line is they care about music and they understand how impactful it can be in a student's life. But yeah, lots of corporate America. We do have a franchisee who was a special ed teacher, and so she certainly understands the power of community and education and all of that.
And a great teacher.
And she's already a great teacher. So, but yeah, it's really all over the place. And again, like you don't have to be a musician. We've got that covered. You do have to want to build a community. We're a people business. You have to want to manage people, have conversations with people, work with musicians. Musicians are awesome, and it's
but
super
also
exciting.
Like odd ducks sometimes.
Yeah, the creative types. You want to, yes.
You gotta know that going in.
Passionate people, like our teachers are there because they love teaching, not because it's going to be raking in the dollars for them, although we do try to support them in that way. But yeah, they're there because they're so passionate about what they do. Yeah. And so it's a really cool group that you're building, the team that you're growing in a musicology. So, but yeah, you got to want to work with those types of people.
Yeah. And you guys have been at this for 10 years now, right? As far as running your businesses and helping franchisees. That's the newer side of it, but you've got 10 years of experience doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So we, and I think that's really important. Like the franchise model, like it's the model that we're operating for ourselves right now. Like there's no difference. We didn't create something new. We just took what we're doing, and packaged it in a way that we can communicate, to other people. And we are continuing to open up studios of our own. We just opened up a studio in Indianapolis. That's ours. We're opening up a second one in Indianapolis this year. And we've really loved that process because our Courtney and Dustin, who we mentioned, our first franchisees to sign on, they opened their second studio the day after we opened our studio in Indianapolis. And so going through, we were like, shoulder to shoulder with them through that opening process. And one that was just like, it's so cool to do that with them. But also the learning that we got, and we're constantly growing and modifying things and trying to be better and provide better support for our franchisees. And it affects us too, because we're right there opening and operating studios as well, and doing the experimenting so that our franchisees don't have to, and implementing new programs and new marketing to really understand how it's working, and then we can go to our franchisees and say, okay, cool, here's a new thing, and you should implement it because of these reasons. It's really important for us to be to have our team operating those studios so that we have that firsthand knowledge as we go through these processes with our franchisees.
I love that. Your feet are on the street. You're doing it every day, just like they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I know you've implemented a lot of technology also that I think is really probably unique for a music school. Tell us a little bit about that. They can go on an app and reschedule and things like that, right?
Yeah,
totally.
Technology is our secret sauce, I think.
Yeah, and you don't think music school and like, okay, you got to have really good technology. But what we discovered, we're private lesson focused, and there are other concepts similar to us that are group lesson focused. But the private lesson piece is really important to us, and one of the things that we've done to make that work is scheduling and technology. And so we, when we were first starting out, there's lots of out of the box software that we used, but it wasn't built for our use case. It was, it's built for gyms or personal training or yoga studios or things like that. So we used everything that exists and couldn't find something that quite did what we needed. One example is one of the pieces of software we used. We had a whole piece of paper, an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with instructions taped to the desk at the front, just so our managers could check people out with the correct proration and membership and then book the lesson and all of this. So it's just like not intuitive processes. So we have a third partner. His name is Kyle, and he's a software engineer. And so we were developing these systems years ago, and he was like, you know what, we could build software that can make this easier for us. And so we did. And we have now we've been using it for 5 years now. My Musicology is what it's called, and it's the hub of everything that happens in the studio: the scheduling, the payment processing, and it's built just for our use case. We have an in-house team that builds and manages it, and it's been really, like Kay said, kind of the secret weapon of the management of our studios, and it's one of the reasons why we can manage a studio with just one full-time manager. Wow. And it worked really well.
That's awesome.
Every morning I wake up and I go to the report for all of our studios and see it. I can see exactly what's happened in the studio just at a glance at a report from the last day, and it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I specifically remember learning that about Musicology when we learned that you were part of our portfolio. So you are a young franchise, but you're very well equipped and prepared to be a franchisor. What are some of the learnings or the aha moments now that you've acquired some franchisees? I know we hear from other founders that it's very different to just be a founder and have your own units versus having franchisees that are now representing your brand as well. So tell us a little bit about maybe some of the things you've learned as a new franchisor.
Yeah.
So I'll say one of the things that we've loved getting to do as a franchisor is coach our new franchisees, and we did that with our joint venture partners throughout the last years. But it's been really exciting to understand kind of what people's concerns are and fears are, and to address them. And one of the things that we've noticed is going from a job to being an owner it's a really unusual transition. And I think that just being an owner and the decisions that you have to make and not having a boss, if you're not used to not having a boss, everything comes down to you. And that can be a lot of pressure for people right away. And so I think our job is saying we've done that, like not just the operations, right? Like we've got the operations, we've got the checklists and all of that, all the playbooks and the handbooks and the operations manual. That's all done. But emotionally, like going through the process of saying, this is my thing now, I'm responsible for it, and understanding that journey, and coaching our franchisees to be great owners and to embrace that responsibility, because it's super exciting. It's the reason why we've been doing this for 10 years. We love it. But it's something that I think is maybe people don't talk about that much. And it's we are excited to coach our franchisees through that process.
Yeah, I think it was surprising to us, the sometimes struggles that our franchisees had, just because we've always been our own boss. We were on the road, no one telling us to buy a veggie oil van. So
no one said we should do that.
In fact, many people cautioned against. Yeah, it's been exciting to sort of help people through that, shifting their mindset. Absolutely.
Well, and it's scary too, leaving a regular salary and all that structure. You're right. It's just a whole new world and everything falls on you. So having you guys to appreciate that and be there, almost, you're supportive business wise, but also kind of a little bit of therapy and on the emotional side. And yeah, it is a lot. It's overwhelming. I know when I transitioned out of corporate America, it's like the sky was falling. So, even though you want to open a business and you want to start your own business and do your own thing, it's uncomfortable to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you go in, it's going to be an investment of your time and your money, but then you start seeing that money fly out the door. And when you're first starting a business, it's, capital intensive. And so even if in your head that's fine and that's what you've calculated for, it just can still feel.
Yeah. And so to have us and other franchisees, our operating partners, our team say, yeah, we get it. We understand where you are. We've been there. We felt that. And here's what's going to happen next. Here are the steps. And here's why it's going to be okay. And here's the plan we've laid out. It's great. And I think that's our responsibility as a franchisor. And that's what we talk about every day. That's what we talk about with our franchisees every day, and what our team works for.
So kind of on that note, if somebody were thinking about buying a business or starting a franchise and they came to you and said, hey, give us a tip. What do we need to know? What would you advise, or what would your tip be for somebody that's thinking about this?
Good question. I think the thing that we find ourselves talking about a lot with potential franchisees is just what that relationship, what that job is going to look like. There's a lot of people out there looking for passive income. Owning a business is not passive. That's what I would say. If you're looking for passive income, maybe the stock market is right for you. Owning a business is you get what you put in to it. And at the beginning, especially, it's going to be hard, and you're at the top, which means that it comes to you, no matter what, like you are the stopgap, So, yes, we have an executive model, Musicology is, we say that it's an executive model. It's not passive. It can eventually be part-time, and it definitely is for us and for our current franchisees, but also like you just have to do what it takes when you're opening a business.
Right.
So I definitely would encourage people to not think about it as passive. Get that word out of your brain.
No such thing as mailbox money.
Yeah, I know. I hear that too from people, and I always kind of try to reiterate that if there was something that you didn't have to do anything, and could make the money that you're looking to make, wouldn't everyone, be doing that?
Right.
And so,
Yep.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that and reminding us that we will get out of it what we put into it.
Yeah.
And I also just want to kind of go back to what you were saying about coaching the franchisees, and what you were sharing is really an advantage that we share with a lot of our clients about being an early adapter. If it's scary to be one of the first handful of franchisees, but you guys really reiterated some of the positives and advantages to that, and really getting that coaching and hands-on attention from the founders, that when there's 50, 100 franchisees already, that doesn't necessarily align. So I think it's just a good reminder for folks that being one of the first handful of franchisees is not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a big positive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
I think maybe that, going back to who we're looking for, especially here at the beginning, it's someone who not only sees those as positive, but wants that, you know what I mean? We want someone who wants to have, be in communication with us, and honestly, have a seat at the table as we build this company. We have really big goals, and we see really amazing things for the future of Musicology. And we're looking for franchisees who are excited and see that too,
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for going back and bringing that up, because that is really important. Yeah, that FaceTime with you guys and a seat at the table. You're not going to be able to do that at some point when you've got too many franchisees. So yeah, very good point. Well, if someone wanted to get a hold of you and learn more about Musicology, how would they do that?
Joseph?
Yeah, go to our website, musicologyfranchising.com. There's a ton of info up there. Right now, you can read through our story, how our model works, what Musicology is, and all of that, and then fill out the form on that website. Our director of sales is named Annie, and she is amazing. She'll be your first call, and she's great. And so that's it. Yeah, we'd love to talk to anybody who's interested in Musicology and owning business. Excited to grow and excited to meet the right people to grow Musicology with.
Great. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today if you're listening or watching this. And thank you too for joining us as well and telling your story and being an open book. Please follow Sara and I on LinkedIn. We're very active there. I'm Roxanne Rapske, Rapske, and Sara with no H, Waskow, Waskow. You can also find more about us and FranNet on frannet.com. And you can learn more on our YouTube channel, FranNet of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Oklahoma. And lastly, you can find Unpredicted Entrepreneur on any of the podcasting platforms. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.